Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Homebody Haven podcast. I'm your host, Esprit, and this is a podcast and a show all about love, but at the root is self-love. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about the difference between self-care and self-maintenance. Now, self-care is it's become sort of a buzzword, but a very important one. But I think that the definition or how we perceive what self-care actually is a little bit skewed. So self-care, when most people think about it, I would assume it seems like most people put it into um, activities that just make you feel good, right? Activities that get you through the day. We're dealing with stress from work, stress in relationships. We're dealing with just like daily stress, dealing with traffic and commutes, maybe having kids, dealing with your friends, your coworkers, money issues. There's a lot that we're kind of taking in throughout the day. And so when we treat ourselves to a little coffee in the morning or a dessert or a snack of some kind, or maybe getting our hair and nails done, then it feels like we're giving ourselves a level of care that's allowing us to get through these inopportune or unfavorable scenarios or situations. But I think that when we think about self-care from that lens, we're not actually taking care of ourselves. We're not actually removing or relieving the stress, tension, frustration, anxiety, anger, sadness that sits within our body always, right? We can distract our minds from it, but our body always remembers. It always feels, it always experiences, and sometimes we just have to take a minute to listen to it. So, in my opinion, and in the opinions of some other things that I've read, self-care really comes down to activities and beliefs and actions that bring you closer to your true self. And there's a lot of argument about if we even have a true self or if the self is a concept that exists in and of itself. Um, but that's a whole different thing. But activities and actions that bring you closer to a space of peace and ease in your internal body, not necessarily things that give you a momentary sense of relief or a feeling of escaping from whatever it is that you're dealing in the world. And I don't want to downplay those other activities or things that may be categorized as self-maintenance. I don't want to downplay them as unnecessary because absolutely, I mean, I do my own hair. I don't really get my nails done. I keep them short. But I do know that after you get your nails done, after you get your hair done, maybe after you get your makeup done or your lashes if you wear those, after you go shopping and do some retail therapy, after you stop by a restaurant, your favorite restaurant, grab yourself a little meal and a drink after work, those are not forms of helpful activities for yourself, right? But I think that those things can, if done improperly, can distract you from your actual feelings that don't really feel great because they give you that momentary dopamine hit, right? They make you feel good in the moment. You're like, oh, great, I feel so much better. Um, or if you're not managing your finances properly along with those actions, you're putting yourself in a more unhealthy position. It just feels good, right? A sweet treat, or even if it's not financial, it can be affecting your health, right? If you're like, I need to have this little sweet thing throughout the day just to make it through the day, if you're adding additional calories and sugar and all this other stuff that isn't really actually helping your body and helping your mind and clearing up that kind of gunk that sits in your system when you're stressed and overwhelmed and this close to burning out, it's not really getting to the root of it. So self-care doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be enrolled in therapy and speaking with a counselor or psychologist every week. It can look like that. But I think it is taking moments to evaluate where you set boundaries in your relationships, how you manage your self-worth and self-esteem and what you're basing it on, how you stand your ground in your beliefs so that you feel secure when you're speaking to people, whether it's in conflict or disagreement, or just when you're trying to make a point or you're trying to exercise your own boundaries. If someone oversteps it, that is like actually taking care of yourself. And that at least for me has been kind of a lifelong lesson and has really hit me in the past year. And it feels less less relaxing than I think we typically think of self-care, right? Self-maintenance tends to be the things that we really enjoy because they make us feel good. We look better, therefore we feel better, right? But what I've noticed recently, especially from doing body work, for those of you who don't know, I'm a stretch therapist here in Charleston, but from working with clients one-on-one, and we're in a private suite, it's a very intimate space. And so I hear a lot of what's happening in people's lives, and I share some things that are happening in mine. These are men and women that take care of themselves, right? They go to the gym, they eat relatively well sometimes, they get massages or stretch therapy sessions regularly, they get their hair done, they get their nails done, they like to dress really nicely, they get a haircut every 2 weeks if it's a guy, whatever it is, right? They take care of self. But we have conversations on the table where they're still holding on to anger and resentment and sadness and fear and insecurity and anxiety and worry. And they're talking about it, which is great. But then after the session, after they've released, they've cried, they've taken these big sighs, and their body is lighter, and I haven't felt this way in so long. They go back out into the real world, and they continue to take care of themselves on these intervaled basis on the maintenance schedule. And yet they still feel anger, and they still feel resentment, and they still feel fear and sadness and worry. And I don't know if our society has just become either overly sensitive or underly sensitive, or just not sensitive enough, has lost a bit of empathy and compassion for one another, where we don't actually know how to have conversations with people and say, I'm not okay, and I want to be okay, but I don't just want to do an activity that feels good in the moment, and then when I'm back home alone, I don't feel great. So how do we actually take care of ourselves and enact self-care in a way that is true and embodied and comes from a really deep, restorative, healed space, right? In the comments, I'd love for you all to say, like, what is that line for you between self-maintenance and self-care? How do you actually show care to this version of yourself that you want to feel like, that you want to be, that you want to resemble? Like, how do you take certain steps to look in the mirror and really admire the reflection that you see? Where do you have to, what things you have to clear out of your systems to become there? And also on that, I do think that we are a little overly therapized almost, where we feel like we have to get to the root of everything that is wrong with us and work towards changing and fixing those things, or else our life is just going to be this repetitive pattern of problem. And I think that can run a little bit of a weird line as well, because no one is perfect. No one should be expected to be perfect or show up in every situation as their quote unquote highest self. But I do think we have to maybe look at certain patterns, or certain behaviors or certain beliefs that we have, realize that they're not really our own. They're based on our environments, our parents, or other people who haven't really done us the best. And we project that onto the rest of the world. And that can be a contradicting act towards self-care as well, right? Holding on to beliefs and patterns and habits that actually no longer serve us. They don't bring us closer to people. They don't bring us closer to ourselves. They don't make us feel safer in the world. And I think safety over comfort is probably a better goal to have, right? What makes you feel the most safe in the world doesn't actually always start off as feeling the most comfortable, because you have to confront things about yourself that don't feel good. Like, I've had to confront different levels of insecurity that I've had. I've had to confront my desire to control outcomes, and so it affects how I show up in the present situation. And I've had to have these conversations with myself, reminding myself to stay present, to stay curious, and to be open to whatever's going to happen, while still staying true to my boundaries and voicing the things that make me feel safe in a particular container or dynamic. So just that balance between maintaining your physical self, right? Grabbing a sweet treat, taking your time to do your skincare, getting your hair, nails, whatever done, and actual self-care, analyzing and acknowledging things about yourself that can be matured or evolved or shifted so that you're able to look at yourself and have a relationship with the person in the mirror that feels whole, but also that you're able to extend that out to other people, and you're not pouring insecurities on other people. You're not pouring control on other people. You're not trying to constantly fix the situations, because I have been there myself, and it doesn't usually result in the dynamics with people and the experiences that you think. It can definitely push people away. It can definitely push you further away from yourself and cause you to lose yourself in the mix, because you're trying to conform and um, fit into someone else's idea of how you should show up. And this is for your romantic relationships. Excuse me. This is for your friendships. This is for your working relationships, right? Where do we find that sense of stable self while still showing up authentically and kind and compassionate and considerate of other people? And I was thinking about this because, this podcast is about self-love, and usually what's wrapped up in self-love is self-care. And everything that I see online about self-care talks about different wellness practices. It talks about maintaining your appearance. It talks about, diet and exercise might be a part of it as well, which I think are great because they're great for your mental well-being, for your physical health. But a lot of it is very surface, quick fix. This feels good in the moment, therefore whatever I was feeling bad about, I don't have to think about. Activities, and those have their place, right? It is good to, look good, feel good is a common phrase I think a lot of people grew up in their households with. When you look good, when you smell good, you feel good, right? You can come out into the world, you feel more confident, you feel more sure of yourself. You can stand a bit taller, you can look people in the eye, you can love the person that you're exuding yourself to be. But if in the back of your mind you're still sad, you're still angry, you're still frustrated, you're still overwhelmed, those are the things in the back of the mind that we have to kind of bring to the forefront, sit in front of those things, sit with those, and really dissect what's happening here and how can we reduce some of those levels of uncomfortable feelings and not distract ourselves from them with these momentary sweet treats, right? So finding that balance. And so for me, I'll say, and I'd love for you all to put in the comments how you find that balance between not distracting yourself with maintenance activities, still taking advantage of them properly, and then intentionally addressing the things that will lead to a higher level and more consistent level of self-care, right? So I'll say for myself, I've dealt with different insecurities throughout my life, usually when it comes to my physical body and my weight fluctuations, right? And that leads to maybe less than favorable results of how I interact through relationships, how I show up in public spaces and like feeling really confident and feeling like I belong there, and also how I voice my own boundaries and comfort within conflict or within a situation that doesn't feel super comfortable. And I meditate and do breath work and go on walks. I've got a really nailed down skincare routine because when my skin is glowy, it feels good. But also within that, I've started journaling. I've started doing affirmations. I've started reading more. And I started practicing the act of setting boundaries. I started being honest when something doesn't make me uncomfortable, instead of saying, oh, it's not really a big deal, so I don't really need to address it. No, it is a big deal, and I am uncomfortable, and I don't feel safe in the situation, and I need to make that clear, even if it doesn't result in the outcome that I want. And that's okay. And I think a big realization that I've had to come to is other people's decisions that are in conflict with my desired outcome for my dynamic with them is not always a reflection of myself, sure, in part, but it's also a reflection of their own capacity and where they are and what they want, and that's okay, right? It doesn't mean that something is so wrong with me and that I'm the problem in every situation. I think it takes two or more people to create or end any kind of situation. And all we can really do is focus on ourselves. All we can do is grow ourselves. All we can do is actually take care of ourselves. So how do you take care of yourself? Not how do you maintain your physical appearance, or maintain or create like a, oh, now I feel better moment, right? How do you really show up for you and take care of you? I'd love to hear some of your self-care practices. They might be worth including in my own kind of routine of self-care. So make sure you pop those in the comments below. But that's all I have for you today. So thank you so much for watching. Please make sure that you subscribe and follow along to the podcast. There are a few more episodes previously that you can watch and catch up on. And if you are listening, I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. So head on over to YouTube, leave something in the comments down below. Make sure you like and share this episode. And if you'd like to work with me one-on-one, I'm a somatic guide, and we work through limiting beliefs. We work through coming back to your home and coming back to a more embodied space of self, and a multitude of other things. You can book a consultation down below in the description. And if you are located in the Charleston, South Carolina area and you'd like to explore a different form of body work, I'd love to work with you as well. You can book a consultation and we can chat a little bit more about what a session looks like. But I will see you all in next week's video and next week's episode. So please have a great one and take care of you. Bye.